Today was a historic day in the wrestling world because today, for the first time in 7 decades, go all the way back to the 1950s, 1953, WWE will not be owned by the McMahon family, ending the last vestige of the territory days. After this television show that we got tonight, I'm not so sure that that's a bad thing. I thought it was a little weird when I started to see reports before Raw even went on the air tonight. I didn't know where these reports were coming from, but I saw then later on that Mike Johnson on PW Insider mentioned it, that tonight's show had a lot more rewrites than has been commonplace for this television show in the hours before they go on the air, because that was something that was commonplace under Vince McMahon. And ever since Triple H took over, we really don't hear any reports about Raw being rewritten, scripts being ripped up, entire segments being junked, right? We don't really hear about that anymore. But on a day where Vincenzo McMahon goes on CNBC to talk about what a great deal it is because WWE and UFC are being merged by Endeavor to form a brand new company, on the very day that Vince McMahon, with his shitty little pencil mustache, shows up on television and is talking about what a great deal this is and talks about creative, and is asked point blank about whether or not he is going to be involved in the creative process in WWE, and he paused for a while. He didn't answer the question right away. He paused for a few very uncomfortable seconds, uncomfortable for me watching it, and said yes and no. I'll still be involved in a top line kind of way in WWE, but I'm not going to be in the weeds. No, I'm not going to be in the weeds anymore like I used to be, even though I love it and I have a lot of fun doing it. I'm not going to be in the weeds. That's not what I'm going to do. Same exact thing that he said when he appointed Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff to be the executive directors of Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown back in 2019. I'm not going to be in the weeds. We all know how that turned out. So I don't believe a fucking word out of this guy's mouth. Is he meddling in creative again? Is he not meddling in creative? Triple H has said that he takes suggestions from Vince. Vince is still involved in creative, but to what extent? Right? To what extent, I wasn't sure. After tonight, now I'm really starting to wonder, to what extent going forward is Vince McMahon going to have his fingers involved here in creative, because this very much felt like a Vince McMahon show. Not that I'm excusing Triple H, because Triple H is the head of content. He is the head of creative. And I sit here tonight, and it pains me, because if you saw my WrestleMania reviews this past weekend, I thought this was one of the best WrestleManias in years. I thought this was the best WrestleMania in probably a decade. Really loved the show on Saturday night. Not as good of a show on Sunday, but still very good. Even if I disagreed with the way they went about the finish in the main event on Sunday, I thought that this was a very good WrestleMania. I don't understand how you have a promotion, a company, who can produce a show like WrestleMania on such a grand scale and give us the show that they gave us this weekend. And then the very next night, they give us a show like the one they gave us tonight. How does that happen? I understand that at WrestleMania, big pay-per-view, you're going to have more in-ring. You're going to have more wrestling than you will on the television show. There's more dead time. There's more commercials. There's more promos. I get that. But how do you go from producing one of the best WrestleManias in a decade plus to producing one of the worst post-WrestleMania editions of Raw that this company has ever done? How does that happen? I said this was a historic day for WWE. It was almost historic for another reason, because at the beginning of the show tonight, they made the announcement that Brock Lesnar was going to be wrestling on the show tonight. That Brock Lesnar was going to be participating in the main event here on Monday Night Raw for the first time. It would have been, I say would have been, in 21 years. Over 7,500 days have passed since the last time we have seen Brock Lesnar wrestling a match on Monday Night Raw. The last time Brock Lesnar worked a match on Raw was in his rookie year. It was a Singapore cane match against Tommy Dreamer. That's how far back you would have to go to see Brock Lesnar in an actual match on Raw. To give you some perspective on how long it's been, that was the same episode, the same night that The Rock wrestled Eddie Guerrero, which is a match that I still remember. I still remember Eddie transitioning out of that rock bottom like it was yesterday. That's how far back you'd have to go. I say we almost got it because we ended up getting no main event tonight. They did an angle at the beginning of the show to set up a tag team match. Cody Rhodes denied his rematch with Roman Reigns for the championship, said, well, I want a tag team match. And Paul Heyman had some conditions and said, if you can go find a tag team partner, we accept. Brock Lesnar comes out and the match is made. Brock and Cody against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And as I said on Twitter, I said when the segment was over, I said, boy, Brock was being awful chummy out there with Cody Rhodes. He was being a little too friendly. We know Brock don't like nobody. He doesn't like people. So I saw where this was probably going. And sure enough, that's where it went. It went with Brock Lesnar at the end, turning on Cody Rhodes and savagely beating this man all over ringside. I mean, he beat the crap out of this guy. And he left him laying in a heap to set up now the inevitable program between Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. So the big message here is that they are sticking with Roman and Cody. Even though Roman Reigns said, no, I'm not going to give you a rematch for the championship. Clearly the direction they are going in, they are building to a rematch with Roman and Cody. I said this last night. I said, well, are they going to stick with Cody or are they going to get away from him for a while? And if so, then who do they go with in the interim? But they are continuing the story with Cody. They're going to delay that match as long as possible. It's pretty clear at this point that Cody is not going to sniff the championship or a rematch with Roman until the summer. Probably SummerSlam at Ford Field. And there were people last night who said, oh, Cody Rhodes, he's the new Lex Luger. And even though I wasn't a fan of that finish, I said, no, he's not. Cody is not Lex Luger. When Luger lost, he was done. And he was never the same again after that. My concern was that, are the fans still going to be with Cody coming out of that finish at WrestleMania? And it was pretty clear when he came out at the beginning of the show tonight that they were. And I would expect it to be the same in other cities as well. They're still in LA. Same crowd from WrestleMania. We'll see what happens when they go to other places. But it was encouraging to see that the crowd was still very much behind Cody Rhodes when he came out tonight. But as far as the rest of this show is concerned, you take that major angle that they did at the end of the show, and I'll talk more about that later. You take that angle at the end of the show out, and you were left with almost nothing tonight. They did an angle with Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, but there was nothing else on this show. People have come to have certain expectations of the Raw after WrestleMania. John Cena came out on television a few weeks ago when he was eviscerating Austin Theory on the microphone. And he said, you going out there in front of, even if you beat me at WrestleMania, like if I win, you lose. And if I lose, then you still lose because you're going to go out there on Raw the next night. And that crowd, that post-WrestleMania crowd is going to eat you alive. Right? I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to see what happens here. Right? But because those crowds don't exist anymore. Those post-WrestleMania crowds are a thing of the past. But he was on television a few weeks ago talking about, the post-WrestleMania. Well, you would think for a post-WrestleMania show, Triple H would have a couple of things up his sleeve. The biggest surprise all night, aside from the Brock turn at the end, was Matt Riddle is back. That was it. There were no NXT call-ups. We didn't even get a promo hyping one. There were no NXT call-ups. There were no surprise debuts, any sort of new talent on the main roster. There was no segment like that you would come to expect on a show like this. Corey Graves said that internally we call this like our opening day. We call it opening day, and we're starting a new season, and we're, starting a new path forward. But if you watch this television show tonight expecting some big surprises and stuff, you didn't really find them. And I could do without all the surprises if they just gave us a quality television show that didn't bore me to fucking tears. This was a boring television show. And this was not just a boring post-WrestleMania Raw. This was a boring Raw. Doesn't matter the fact that it's April 3rd. It could be July 15th. It wouldn't matter. It would still be a terrible Raw show. This show was putting me to sleep. I didn't even know if I was going to make it to the main event. The only thing keeping me awake was the fact that, hey, Brock's going to wrestle in the main event. Roman's going to be in the main event. Was the last time Roman Reigns worked a match on Monday Night Raw? I'll tell you, July 25th. That's a long time ago. So I did my best to keep my focus and stay awake here, and then we ended up not even getting a main event. At least they gave us a major angle, but we got no main event. So we'll get into this show. Not that there's a whole lot to get into here, aside from the finale. But yeah, if you were watching this show tonight expecting this to kind of set the tone for the next several months in WWE, you were probably left disappointed. And as far as all the reports about Vince, we're going to hear a lot of stuff about Vince McMahon and stuff. The fact that this show apparently underwent several rewrites earlier in the day is extremely discouraging. Because Vince McMahon can go on television, he can go on CNBC, he can do any interview he wants to, he can look like a fucking comic book villain. And he can say, well, I'm not really going to be doing this anymore. But when you put on a television show like this and you start to hear stories about these things happening that weren't happening over the last six or 7 months, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. Not a very good sign. Now, as far as that news, by the way, as far as the whole WWE merger with UFC and the Endeavor stuff, I didn't have a chance to get to it today. But I will try to get a video up or maybe even do a quick live stream tomorrow. So we'll probably talk about that tomorrow. Tonight, we'll keep it focused here on Raw. This is your post-WrestleMania 39 Monday Night Raw review here for April 3rd, 2023. I am the Solomonster. I can only imagine the comments, and I can only imagine what this Twitter poll is going to look like when we go to that a little bit later on. I'm very interested to see the results of that poll. You can go vote right now at Solomonster, because I guarantee you I was not the only one who was, let's say, underwhelmed by this show tonight. Subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of new subs over this past weekend. Thank you if you are new here. If you found the channel from the WrestleMania reviews, I hope you'll stick around. But hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up as well. We need 500 likes. I'm not sure if we've already hit the goal. I think we may have. But if we haven't, 500 was the goal for Be the Booker. If we've already hit 500, let's shoot for 1,000. We should be able to do 1,000 likes before we get out of here today. Super chats are open. You'll see them popping up on screen here and there. Channel memberships are open. So if that is something you would be interested in, you can certainly hit that join button down below. And I thank you for that. So let's get into this show here because it's frustrating. After such a mostly positive weekend, and people are excited, right, going into this first Raw coming out of Mania. It's like the start of a new season in WWE. They serve you up a heaping pile of shit like we had tonight. And it just, I don't get it. I really don't. I really don't understand it. Talent is there. The excitement was there. And this is the best that they can give you. Raw started, and I'll tell you as we go along here, the different points of the show. There was a Seth Rollins segment on this show. That was one of the most, I was flabbergasted when this segment was over. You talk about a show that felt a lot like time filler, like they didn't know what to do. They were just trying to pass the time. Wait until we get to the Seth Rollins segment. Raw started with a commercial-free first hour that had 3 minutes of actual wrestling. First hour of this show, 3 minutes of wrestling. Pathetic. Pathetic. Triple H came out to the ring to address the crowd. He was all smiles. You know, once this merger goes through, this merger is not official yet, but once this merger actually goes through, Triple H is due to receive a $5 million bonus. I'd have a smile on my face, too, if I knew I had $5 million coming to me. Bobbert reviews with the Bully the Clown. I feel like that's the appropriate super chat for tonight. That's like the mascot for Monday Night Raw. Bully the Clown, I'm going to make him the official mascot of Monday Night Raw. I think that's what I'm going to do. So Triple H is in the ring. And he's praising WrestleMania. He's praising them putting 161,000 people into SoFi Stadium this past weekend. Very impressive. right? 161,000. I will note that on Saturday, they claimed 80,000 for the attendance and said that they were sold out. On Sunday, they claimed 81,000. Sold out at 80,000 on Saturday, but they had 81,000 on Sunday. So I'm still trying to figure out the math on that one. He said he wanted to say thank you to every superstar in the back, all the staff, all the crew, even Stu, the cameraman, John Cena's friend. And he wanted to thank the fans who make it possible for them to do what they do. And he alluded to the big announcement today. Tony Khan's not the only one to make a big announcement this week. He alluded to the big announcement from earlier today. He never mentioned Endeavor. He never mentioned UFC. He never actually said what the announcement was. He just said, boy, you know, WWE's being talked about. WWE's in the news. It's all over the place. And he wanted to assure us that WWE is not going anywhere. This was him trying to reassure the crowd that the WWE that you have come to know and love is not going anywhere. Again, this was not the night, by the way, for him to be making this announcement. With this show, but he wanted to assure us nothing will change. Everything that you've come to expect from this company is going to be exactly the same. And honestly, that's what I'm expecting. As far as the consumer-facing element, right, there may be some changes under the hood. There may be some changes as far as potential cuts, staff cuts, things of that nature. I am not expecting much of anything to change from the Endeavor side. Right, we could talk about Vince McMahon and all that, but Vince has been back for a while. You know, Vince McMahon potentially being back and getting more involved in creative, that's not a new thing that just started today. But beyond that, I'm not expecting a whole lot to change as far as when you put the show on every week and you watch Raw, you watch SmackDown, you're pretty much going to get the same show that you get every week. So I'm expecting not much to change in that regard. But he said that he had one more person he wanted to introduce. And I swear to God, I thought he was about to bring out Vincenzo. I thought Vincenzo McMahon was about to walk down to the ring, Vincent Price himself. But it was not Vince. I thought no chance in hell was about to hit. He was going to come down, flailing his arms around, big smile on his face. Why does Vince's mustache slope, by the way? Can somebody explain that to me? Is he drawing it on? It's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. He's got this pencil stash, but it goes like across and like down, and I can't quite figure out what's going on there. It's almost like he's got like eyebrows for a mustache. But anyway, so it wasn't Vincenzo. It was Roman Reigns, still the undisputed champion, 946 days. He came out with Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa, no Usos, and he got heat. Not the level of heat that he had when he walked out on that Raw after WrestleMania when he beat The Undertaker. That was a nuclear level of heat. I mean, they would not let that man speak for 8 straight minutes. You want to see heat, you go watch Roman Reigns coming out in 2017, the night after WrestleMania 33. So this wasn't that, but he did get chance of Roman sucks. He was all smiles, and he told Hollywood to acknowledge him. He was quickly interrupted, though, by Cody's theme song. And Cody came down to the ring. He had his lavender suit on. And he said that he knows what he wants to talk about. He's not asking us, what do you want to talk about? He says, I know what I want to talk about tonight. He thought that he would be standing here as the champion. He acknowledged that at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns was the better competitor. He said Roman has won a lot of matches where, barely skated by, but he pulls out the win in the end. He said last night was not one of those nights. Last night, Cody said, I had you. He says that he knows what he wants to talk about, and it boils down to one word, rematch. Well, if we ever needed confirmation that Vince McMahon is back, it would be the word rematch. If we start seeing rematches on television every week, then we know this fucking guy is back in power. He said rematch. Paul Heyman asked Cody when he would like to have this hypothetical rematch. And Cody told him tonight. And everybody cheered. Paul Heyman then said no rematch. Not tonight. Not in Puerto Rico. Not at SummerSlam. Not at Survivor Series. Not at the Royal Rumble. Not at Madison Square Garden. Not in San Francisco, he said, where the real life exists in California. So Cody got hot. He told Roman, he goes, if you don't want to do the rematch tonight, since Solo's in the ring and I basically already fought the both of you last night anyway, why don't we do a tag team match tonight? And Roman consulted with his special counsel. Heyman then informed Cody that his challenge is accepted, but there are two parameters. Number one, if someone in that locker room is stupid enough to team with you, it has to be somebody who wrestled this past weekend at WrestleMania. So that would eliminate, because there were rumors all day about, Jay White or Matt Cardona or somebody like that, which that would have eliminated them from the list. So it had to be somebody who competed this weekend at WrestleMania. And if someone does come down that aisle to team with you tonight, that person can never get a championship match with Roman Reigns, so long as Roman Reigns is the undisputed champion. So those were the two parameters that Heyman set. And then we hear Brock Lesnar's music. And out comes Cowboy Brock. Corey Graves explained that the stipulation doesn't apply to Lesnar because Brock lost already to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam in the Last Man Standing match. That was supposed to be their final match. And the provision was that if Brock lost, he could not challenge for the championship so long as Roman was the champion. So he's got nothing to lose, right? Because Brock already can't challenge Roman anyway for the title. So Lesnar got in the ring. He very aggressively shook hands with Cody and was, again, really buddying up to him. And Roman and Solo, Heyman had already left when he saw Brock. Heyman bailed. So at that point, Roman and Solo, they left the ring. So we had our main event set up for tonight with Brock Lesnar for the first time in 21 years. Now, they did tease him wrestling on Raw the night after WrestleMania 31. When Seth Rollins had cashed in his Money in the Bank. The bell never rang, though, so it doesn't count. That was when he gave an F5 to the cameraman. And Stephanie suspended him, and he went and took his little vacation for a few months. So that doesn't count because that wasn't an official match. But first time in 21 years, we were about to see Brock Lesnar wrestling a match here on Monday Night Raw, tagging with Cody against the Bloodline. Honestly, the most shocking part about this is the fact that Brock stuck around for the entire show. Usually he's either in the opening segment, top of the hour, maybe around 9 o'clock, and then he's out of there. I'll pop over to PW Insider. They'll have an update before Raw's even over that Brock left the building before the show was even finished. So the fact that he stuck around until the very end, that may have been the biggest surprise of the entire show. But, again, him being so friendly, overly friendly to Cody, and big cheesy smile on his face, it just seemed pretty obvious to me that something was amiss. This just didn't make a whole lot of sense here. Especially because Brock, he didn't have anything to gain, given the stipulations. So why is he buddying up to Cody Rhodes so much? I could kind of see where this was going. Now we had, again, no commercials here. So we go right into the next match. We had Omos, who lost to Brock at WrestleMania last night, out for a match with Elias. Because nothing screams excitement here on this post-WrestleMania Raw like Omos against Elias. Well, at least they consolidated the two of them into the same match, right? So it's like killing two birds with one stone. And they kept it short. He made short work of Elias with a tree slam. So it was over quick. This crowd sounded about as thrilled for this match as I was to see it. To the back, we see the Usos. And they are backstage. They're walking through the hallway. No longer the undisputed tag team champions. They lost those titles to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on night one of WrestleMania. And they came by. They knocked on Roman's door. Paul Heyman answered. He called them, hey, the greatest tag team of all time. And he said that Roman and Solo, they're not here. They stepped out. They're strategizing for their main event match tonight. He said Reigns wanted his cousins to enjoy some fresh seafood. Right? The jet's all gassed up and waiting. Why don't you guys go out to the jet and have yourself a little feast? And they'll join you after they beat Cody and Brock in the main event. And the Usos were a little leery, but they said okay, and they walked off. Heyman then opened the door to Roman's locker room, and you can hear him say that he took care of things. He goes, I took care of things, my tribal chief. And shut the door behind him. So looks like the Usos are in the doghouse now after their big loss at WrestleMania this weekend. They aired a video with highlights from the WWE Hall of Fame on Friday night. All the induction speeches and all the inductees came out. Same video package I think they aired at WrestleMania this weekend. Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful had a very interesting note. He mentioned that WWE was very happy with Conan's speech for Rey Mysterio, which they should be. Conan had a great speech. And nobody knows Rey Mysterio better than he does. As he said in the speech on Friday night, he's known Rey since Rey was 12 years old. So he was the perfect person to do the speech. And, you know, Conan's got the gift of gab. It's almost like this guy's cut promos before. So Conan was great. It was, of course, funny how he introduced him at the Hall of Fame as Rey Mysterio Jr. And they were sure here in the highlights to cut the junior part when they showed him introducing Rey. But Sean Ross Sapp mentioned that as thrilled as they were with Conan's speech, the company apparently was not thrilled with Ric Flair's speech. And I don't think the report mentioned the reason why, but I'll tell you right now why. I mentioned this on the podcast on Sunday when I reviewed the Hall of Fame. Because Flair made most of his speech about himself. He was there to induct Muta. Now, you know, people will tell stories about themselves and their interactions with the person they're inducting. But I felt like I was listening to a Ric Flair Hall of Fame speech. He was inducting himself again. Fucking guy made it all about himself. I'm not surprised that they weren't thrilled with his speech. They probably didn't like the fact he mentioned Sting either, but I didn't see that as being a big... He mentioned Sting. What is that, a dirty word now? Can't mention Sting? They had an AEW star in the front row at WrestleMania last night. Cody gave him his weight belt. That's the reason why they're not thrilled with Flair's speech. So back at ringside, Kathy Kelly was doing a short interview with a special guest in the front row, Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny was there this weekend. He was also there for Raw tonight. He was sitting in the front row and said that he was the host for Backlash in Puerto Rico coming up next month. I think the show sold out within like an hour. I mean, you put tickets on sale for anything involving Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico, and you can forget about seeing those tickets. So that was an easy sellout. So he's going to be hosting the show. He said that he was excited to be the host of Backlash. He was just here tonight enjoying Raw as a fan. He's always been a big WWE fan, and that's all he's there tonight to be. Rey Mysterio made his entrance. He hugged Bad Bunny before he got into the ring. Rey said that it was an emotional week for him. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he said that he would not be there without the fans, and he thanked them. Austin Theory interrupted. Still the United States champion after his win over John Cena on Saturday. And he came to the ring. He said, you know, there were only two men who did what they said they were going to do at WrestleMania. Theory said that Rey beat the product of his own bad parenting while he beat John Cena. And he got "You tapped out" chant from when he tapped out to, it was the STF, I think, that he tapped out to, right? But there was no referee. So he was getting "You tapped out" chants. Theory told the fans that they tapped out for not believing in him. Theory called Cena, remember when Cena claimed, I mentioned this earlier, you're going to get eaten alive, right? That crowd's going to eat you alive on the Raw after WrestleMania. So he says, go ahead, eat me alive. And this got a very tepid reaction. Again, this is not the same, this whole dynamic of the Raw after WrestleMania, I don't know when it stopped, but within the, and obviously COVID, I mean, there were, COVID had a lot to do with that also when they weren't even running in front of fans. I'm not talking about that. How long has it been since we really have had one of those Raw after Mania crowds that we remember from like 10 or 11 years ago, right? It's been a long time. Like the whole idea of the most rabid crowd of the year being the post-WrestleMania Raw crowd, I don't think that's been a thing for many years now. So you would think that Theory would have gotten a ton of heat. You know, he got boos, but, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. So Theory told Rey that he wanted to beat his ass and add him to his collection. Rey said the only thing Theory would be collecting is his teeth after he hits him with a 619. So we got a referee for the match. Rey Mysterio against Theory. This was a non-title match. We got a picture-in-picture break as the match began at 8:55 p.m. So they didn't even wait the full hour. We were supposed to get the first hour of Raw was supposed to be commercial-free. Technically, it was the first 55 minutes. Dominic and Damian Priest came out near the finish. Ray ran the ropes for the 619. Dominic hopped onto the apron. Ray knocked him to the floor. And he went for the 619. Theory, though, blocked it and hit his A-Town down finish for the win. So thanks to the distraction from Dominic, Ray falls to Austin Theory. And after that, Theory disappeared. We never saw him again. We never heard from him again. And again, only won this match because the Judgment Day came down to get involved. After the match was over, Dominic and Priest, they got in the ring. Dominic was beating up his deadbeat dad until he looked outside and he locked eyes with Bad Bunny. So Dominic hopped outside the ring. He walked over to Bad Bunny. They exchanged words in Spanish. I would love to tell you what it was that they said, but I have no idea. But it was getting pretty intense. So Dominic turned to go to leave. Bad Bunny said something to him, and Dominic turned around, took a swing at him, and Bad Bunny blocked it, and he punched Dominic in the face. Damian Priest comes over, and now Damian Priest has a look on his face, like he's just disappointed, because he and Bad Bunny, they're tight, they're friends. In fact, they were tag team partners in Bad Bunny's one and only actual match. I know he was in the Royal Rumble, but the tag team match at WrestleMania 37, it was Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, right, against the Miz and Morrison. So these guys go back, they're buddies. He doesn't want to have to do this, but he's left him no choice. So he grabs Bad Bunny, he pulls him over the barricade. Bad Bunny shoves Priest. Then he turns around, sees Dominic, and he pops Dominic in the mouth for a second time. Down goes Dominic. Priest knocks him down, and he drags Bad Bunny over to the announce desk. He clears the table off, and he gives Bad Bunny a choke slam through the announce desk. And Bad Bunny, he got folded up. All right, he took a pretty good bump through the announce desk. Adam Pearce comes out. All these officials come out. Corey Graves on commentary is trying to sell this like a serious angle, like it could be a serious injury angle. He's apologizing to all of the Bunny's fans. Later on in the show, Corey announced that Bad Bunny was taken to a local medical facility. Uh-oh. And he looks to have suffered a separated shoulder. So that's the storyline injury they're going with for Bad Bunny. Now this angle was a good angle. And Bad Bunny is a legit star, right? He really is. It's actually quite incredible when you look at all of the business accomplishments, and I'm not even talking about just how many records he's sold. Like, this guy goes out on tour, tickets go on sale, and they're gone like that. Like, there's a reason why WWE wants to work with him. And he is a genuine wrestling fan. He's a legitimate wrestling fan. He had a good showing in that one tag team match that he did. The only thing I remember is that he did the Destroyer, but I remember that he didn't embarrass himself. He had a good showing. So, he's the real deal. But 48 hours after Austin Theory got the biggest win of his life at WrestleMania against John Cena, and he was a total afterthought here. He played second fiddle to the angle that they did at the end of this match. He disappeared, and that was it. Just the total after. This was the big follow-up to his big win over John Cena at WrestleMania. I actually thought that coming out of Mania, we might get a singles program for the U.S. title with him and Montez Ford, because they had a little tussle a few weeks ago on TV, and it looked like there was some potential there for them to do more with that in an actual program post-WrestleMania. And I still think that the potential for that is there, but there was no hint of anything like that tonight. But, as I've been saying, as far as Backlash is concerned,
Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves
Gunther has joined us.
All hail Gunther.
Hey, Maroa, thank you very much for the $50 Gunther super chat. All hail the mighty Gunther. I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. Maroa, thank you very much for the $50 drop. I appreciate that. But I've been saying this now for the longest time. Once they announced Backlash was coming to Puerto Rico, and Damian Priest, I mean, it just seemed obvious he would have a big match on that show. He had no match at WrestleMania. Balor had a match, Rhea had a match, Dominic had a match. They actually, all three of those people had big matches at WrestleMania, right? Championship match, Hell in a Cell. Rey and Dom is one of the matches I was most looking forward to. Damian Priest was the odd man out. You know, he had no match at WrestleMania, so he should have a match, a big match, coming up at Backlash. And they're going to be in Puerto Rico. And so it makes sense to do Dominic and Damian Priest against Rey Mysterio and a partner. And I thought maybe it could be Rey and Bad Bunny. I don't even think it has to be Bad Bunny. I mean, Rey has been doing stuff with Escobar and Legado del Fantasma. Now they're running around with the LWO t-shirts, the Latino World Order. I believe they had something planned for the show tonight. That might have been one of the segments that got cut because I thought that there was supposed to be something with the LWO and there was nothing on the show with them. So I could easily see Rey and Escobar against Dominic and Priest in Puerto Rico with some involvement from Bad Bunny, maybe as an enforcer or referee, if he doesn't wrestle. So that would seem to be what makes the most sense. This is a good angle, though. Now, backstage after the break, Adam Pearce was in the back with Priest, and he was very upset. He asked Priest, like, what the hell are you thinking? You know, Bad Bunny, he's here to help. He's here to promote WWE. What are you putting him through a table for? And he said that Priest provoked him. Priest said, look, Bad Bunny took a swing at Dominic. Right? He took a swing at Dominic first. I guess we're just going to ignore that. We're going to ignore that fact that he took a swing at him first. So Priest said that, look, if Bad Bunny wasn't my friend and I didn't like this guy, you would really have a reason to be angry right now. And he walked off. We had the new undisputed tag team champions, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And even though we did not get a happy ending to night 2 of WrestleMania last night, we certainly got one on Saturday night in the tag team title match. Seeing Sami Zayn hit the haluva kick, pin Jey Uso, they play Worlds Apart. I'm so glad he has that theme song back. And to see the two of them celebrating their big win was a special moment at WrestleMania this year. So they come out with their titles. The fans are chanting, "You deserve it." Kevin Owens says, "We do." But so do all of you, right? He is nothing if not humble, is Kevin Owens. Sami said that he's been coming here for a minute here in LA. And he says, the one thing I know is that LA likes to celebrate. Owens said nothing says a good celebration like a good fight. He said, if anybody wants their opportunity to come out here and throw down with us, come on down. So that brought out the Street Profits. They won the men's showcase match at WrestleMania, easily the best of the two showcase matches. They had one for the men, one for the women. I mean, there's really no comparison between the two. The men's showcase match was excellent on Saturday. Street Profits got the win there. So Montez Ford toasted them on becoming tag team champions. Angelo Dawkins said that they also won at WrestleMania. He issued a challenge for tonight, which was accepted. And it led to Owens and Zayn against the Street Profits, non-title. You know, they won a 4-way. I mean, here's the thing. WWE never advertised that either of the showcase matches at WrestleMania were for a title shot. Right? They never said that. But if you go into WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, and you're in a fatal 4-way, right? These are supposed to be 4 of the best tag teams in the company. And you win. How are you not in line for a tag team championship match? Like, why would this be non-title? Why wouldn't this be for the tag team titles? I don't really understand that. If you win a 4-way at WrestleMania, what else do you need to do to earn a championship match? Because they don't have like a ranking system in this company. I don't know. This was non-title. The crowd was on the quiet side for this. For a good part of this match, Zayn made a hot tag following the commercial break and caught Montez with a tornado DDT and a flip dive out on the Street Profits. Zayn followed with a sunset flip powerbomb off the top for a 2 count. Angelo Dawkins got in. They gave Sami a big double team blockbuster. Owens broke up the attempted pin. Zayn gave Ford an exploder into the turnbuckles. Owens followed with a cannonball and a senton, but Dawkins broke up the pin. Ford wiped out Owens and KO, Owens and KO. Owens and Zayn. with a dive. Owens, though, dodged the frog splash, and then he went up and he hit one of his own. Zayn followed with a Helluva kick, and they got the pin. I thought the match itself was solid. Yeah, it was a solid enough match. Not much excitement for this. Ford and Dawkins, they win at WrestleMania. They lose the next night in what wasn't even a championship match, right? I mean, you could say, well, they could have won the non-title match. I wouldn't be beating Owens and Zayn their first match after WrestleMania. But again, I'm wondering what it would take to get a tag team title match after you win a 4-way at Mania and you show up to challenge the champions and the titles aren't on the line. What is the criteria here for getting a title match? Because I'm sure Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn would have been like, hey, you want a shot at the titles? You guys earned it. Let's do it. But they didn't want to do it. Maybe they're going to save it for Backlash. We'll see if they follow up on this or if Owens and Zayn now just move on. They can move on to Alpha Academy. Right? There were 3 other teams in that showcase match that lost. Maybe they'll just go around and beat all 3 of them. Now, I assume we're going to get a rematch with the Usos at Backlash. So backstage, here we go. Backstage, Kathy Kelly was interviewing Seth Rollins, who got a win over Logan Paul at WrestleMania on Saturday. So he was all smiles, right? Rollins was very happy because he came out a winner this year. And he was cackling and he was clapping and he said that he was feeling good after hitting the stomp heard round the world. And he sent Logan Paul and his buddy KSI back to the wasteland of social media. I did get a kick out of KSI getting the elbow drop from Logan Paul while in that stupid costume on Saturday. To me, that was peak entertainment. I enjoyed that. So he said the party is not in the back, though. The party is out there. It's in the arena in front of all the people. So he asked for his music to be played, and they played his music, and Rollins started to make his way to the ring as they cut to we saw him going down the hallway, and they cut to a commercial break. They come back from commercial. Rollins is standing in the ring with his arms outstretched, just soaking it all in, while the crowd is humming to his theme song. They're singing his song, which, in case you didn't know, is something that Chris Jericho invented. Just ask him, he'll tell you. So they're singing his song, and this is going on for an obnoxiously long period of time. On and on and on and on. I'm just waiting for somebody to, their music is going to interrupt, or he's going to actually speak and have something to say. No, he stood there, didn't say a word. They sang his song for a little while longer, and then Rollins turned and left the ring and started to walk to the back. That was it. He never said anything. He never did anything. Nobody else came out. They didn't tease what the next direction is going to be for his character or who he might be feuding with next. No. He stood there for 4 minutes during the commercial, and then another 2 minutes when they came back from commercial. 6 minutes at least, and then turned and went to the back. I was dumbfounded by this. On a show that felt in a lot of spots like, okay, there's a lot of WrestleMania highlight packages on this show, like a lot of packages on this show, a lot of commercials, right? That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to 3 hours of Raw every week. But a lot of the segments on this show left me scratching my head as far as like, what was the point of this? I mean, they're just trying to kill time to get to the main event? The answer is yes. Yes. I was dumbfounded by this. I don't know what else to say. Not even a hint of what he's going to be doing next. Backstage, Bobby Lashley was interviewed by Kathy Kelly, who asked about how he was feeling after winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. And Lashley said that he has a lot of pent-up frustration over the fact that he was standing on stage in front of the crowd at WrestleMania and didn't actually have a match. And I will tell you that Bobby Lashley is not the only one with pent-up frustration about the fact that that's all they had for him at WrestleMania. That was a disgrace. There were a few people missing from that WrestleMania show who should have been on that card, and they easily could have fit them on there, considering some of the other things that they had. They could have certainly found a segment for Bobby Lashley instead of fucking Shane McMahon. But they wanted to get to the stuff with Snoop Dogg. So, of course, they had to do that segment. So they plugged Shane McMahon in there. But Bobby Lashley has every right to not be very happy about that. So Bronson Reed walked up, and he asked if he could call him Uncle Bobby. And Reed said that he's the nephew because Lashley teaches him things. Reed said that Lashley taught him how to lose when Bobby won that battle royal. Bronson Reed, I think, was the last one eliminated, in fact. Lashley eliminated him from the battle royal to win on Friday night. So he said the pupil eventually schools the teacher. And Lashley asked if he wanted to fight him. Reed, who was not dressed for combat here, said he couldn't do it tonight, but he said that Lashley would eventually learn his lesson. This is a match I can get behind. I've floated this match before. I thought maybe this could be the WrestleMania match when Brie went down with whatever illness it is that he's dealing with, and it looked like Bobby was going to need a new opponent. Everybody was talking about LA Knight. I said, well, what about Bronson Reed? Not a lot of time to build it up at that point, but that is a match that I can get behind, and this is a match that's going to be a lot of fun when it happens. Mustafa Ali showed up. After Reed walked off, Mustafa Ali shows up. And he talked about how Lashley has been hearing a lot of no's lately. Ali told him, think more positive and never take no for an answer. Lashley said that, well, he wanted to take somebody to the ring and maul them, and he would not take no for an answer. So he grabbed Ali, and he dragged him all the way out onto the stage. Tossed him down the ramp. We got a referee. Lashley turned Ali inside out with a clothesline and then applied the Hurt Lock for the submission in 30 seconds. They even had the Andre Battle Royal trophy already positioned at ringside. So when Bobby was posing when the match was over, we got kind of the faraway shot, and in the foreground you saw the Andre trophy. It's almost as if they knew he was coming out. How did they know? It's almost like this is a television show. That was kind of goofy. That's just one of those little nits to pick. But the bigger thing here is that, again, Bobby Lashley, not much here. Now, look, I am all for Lashley smashing people on TV, right? I didn't want to see him go in there and have a 10-minute competitive match with Ali, right? He went in there, he fucking killed the guy. Great. I don't have an issue with that. And I am looking forward to the eventual match with him and Bronson Reed. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Bronson Reed is one of the few people that Triple H brought back, who was let go by the company, who was fired, unceremoniously fired, and deserved a second chance and has made the most of it. Even though we don't see a lot of him, what we have seen of him has been very impressive. And I think he is getting over. LA Knight is getting over, quicker than he is, because I feel like he's getting more television time than Bronson Reed is. But he's getting over the Tsunami Splash. Like, he has really showed up and has been impressive so far. I can't say the same for, Death Row or a lot of the other people that Triple H, not all of them, but a lot of people that Triple H has brought back. Tegan Knox hasn't really been featured very much. Mia Yim has all but disappeared. She had a match last week, I think, on TV with Candice. I think it was a tag team match, but maybe they're keeping her off because AJ Styles is not ready to come back yet. She was part of the club. I don't know what they're doing with her. Karrion Kross, you can't look at what they've done with him and say that, boy, he's doing great right now. No, it's been underwhelming. But Bronson Reed has really impressed. So I'm happy that they're going to that match. But all of these short segments, though. The Rollins thing was just puzzling to me, but all of these short segments on this show, and they weren't even very good. They were just death tonight on this show. I'm not saying give me a whole night of 15-minute long matches, but at least give me something that doesn't make me want to just go under the covers and put my head on the pillow and go to sleep, for crying out loud. Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and Solo Sikoa, they were shown sitting in Roman's locker room. And Roman asked Paul Heyman if his cousins were gone. Heyman said that they went to the jet. Even though in the earlier segment when the Usos walked off, we saw Paul Heyman open the door. And clearly, even though we couldn't see him, clearly he was talking to Roman Reigns. And he said, "My tribal chief, I've taken care of it, my tribal chief," right? Even though we saw that earlier on, for whatever reason, Roman was asking him, "Did you take care of my cousins? Is that taken care of?" So Paul Heyman said, yeah, they went to the jet. Poor Roman, he's been champion for so long now. He has gotten so old in the time that he has been champion that he is losing his hearing and he is collecting his Social Security checks. So Reigns asked Heyman if he knew Brock Lesnar was going to be there tonight. Heyman said, it was the day after WrestleMania. Normally, this is the time when Brock leaves. Everybody hanging, and he goes away for 6 to 9 months. So then Heyman is so good. He's so great. Reigns asked, first Heyman smiled, and he said, "That's the life that you rescued me from, my tribal chief. That's why I love you, my tribal chief." And then Reigns asked him, how did this happen? Heyman said, Lesnar can never challenge Roman again, so he's got nothing to lose. Roman said that one of my greatest accomplishments was smashing Brock, and I'll do it again tonight. And after that, I'll smash Cody as well. Reigns said that when he was done, he was going to tag Solo into the match so Solo can show Cody and the world that he is, in fact, ready. And he looked at Solo and said, "Are you ready?" And Solo nodded. And that was the end of that. We had Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion, coming out next. Raw Women's Champion for 366 days. From WrestleMania 38 to WrestleMania 39 and beyond. Comes to the ring for a promo. She thanked Asuka for pushing her to the limit, pushing her to be the toughest that she can be. She bragged about three-peating at WrestleMania. That's 3 WrestleManias in a row. Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and now Asuka. Very impressive. Got her own little streak going. Rhea Ripley, the new SmackDown Women's Champion, came out with her title. She came down to the ring. She said that Bianca calls herself the EST, but she's really just the luckiest woman in WWE because Ripley didn't choose her for WrestleMania. She chose Charlotte Flair. And she promised that they would get back to it at some point, and she would beat Bianca just like she beat Charlotte. Bianca said that Rhea made her choice for a reason. She said that she's all about getting in the ring with the best, and one day when Ripley is ready, they will see who the best is. And Rhea smiled, and she turned to go leave as Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez made their way to the ring for the next match. Rhea and Raquel, when they passed by each other, they briefly stopped, and they stared at each other before they continued walking. So that was clearly a tease there for Rhea's, what I would have to think is Rhea's first title program. When I was going through the SmackDown women's roster, the other night, about who does Rhea work with next on that roster? You've got Natty, Shotzi, which would be a terrible idea. Tegan, Shayna, Ronda, who are doing the tag team thing now, and they're hurt. Who does that leave? Liv Morgan? I don't think they're going to go right into Liv Morgan, although there is history there with her and Rhea. Raquel. Raquel's the one that they really want to build up. Raquel's not going to beat Rhea to win the championship, but working with her and doing couple of match program, if they want to do a couple of matches, I think would make sense. They need to call up some new faces. They need some new blood in that women's division. We certainly didn't get a hint of any call-ups tonight. If you were watching this show waiting for some kind of NXT call-up, we didn't get it. So it looks like that'll be possibly her first program. But obviously at some point they're going to be getting to that. The Bianca and the Rhea stuff felt more to me like a tease for WrestleMania 40. I think that could be the women's match for whichever title. That could be a match I think that they're saving for next year. And it would be the battle of their 2 biggest homegrown female stars of this, kind of current. If you look beyond the horsewomen and you look beyond the Charlotte, Sasha, Becky, Bayley kind of era from NXT all those years ago, and you look at that next generation, you're looking at people like Rhea and like Bianca. Raquel would be kind of part of the next group. She's still relatively new. So that would be the match to do. This felt like a tease for something longer term down the road, not like they're going to be doing a unification match in the next few months or anything like that. So we had Liv Morgan and Raquel against Damage Control, Dakota Kai and Io Sky. There was no Bayley with Damage Control here on this show. Most of this took place during the commercial. Raquel hoisted up Dakota, had Morgan tag her while she was holding up Dakota. Liv tagged in. So Raquel finished the move, hit the Tejana Bomb. Liv then followed that up with Oblivion. She pinned Dakota. I think it's time to do a Control-Alt-Delete on Damage Control. I mean, this has been a dead group for a while. I mean, there's just been no pulse there, barely a heartbeat. They lost their WrestleMania. They lost their tag team titles. It's time to pull the plug. I would like to see Io Sky in particular get a run as a babyface on her own. But this Damage Control thing, this hasn't been really working for a while. And this just felt like, this just felt like they were just thrown out there with no real mind given to them. It was just a match to really highlight Liv and Raquel. And Damage Control was an afterthought. Again, didn't have Bayley with them. She wasn't on the show tonight. It is time to Control-Alt-Delete and move on beyond Damage Control. Let Io go off on her own. Io Sky on her own as a babyface is the way to go. She was great in NXT. She'll get over. I think the people will get behind her. Dakota Kai, she could be babyface, she could be heel. Probably better for her to be heel right now, but collectively as a group, it's time to move on, right? They call this opening day, fresh start, right? We're charting a new path here in the new year. I don't see Damage Control being a part of this much longer. Liv and Raquel, though, they get a tag team title match now with Becky and Lita on Raw coming up next Monday. Liv and Raquel actually lost in the Women's Showcase match of WrestleMania. But the problem is Ronda and Shayna, they won. Ronda Rousey is still hurt. That's why she didn't do anything other than win the match with an armbar. Ronda didn't take any bumps. Ronda didn't do much of anything at WrestleMania. Shayna got hurt in the match. I don't know how serious the injury is. I have seen no injury updates on her. But you can tell if you go back and watch, there was a suicide dive spot where she was one of the bodies outside catching the person. It didn't look like she twisted her leg or landed wrong on it, but she immediately grabbed her right foot, reappeared at the end of the match with one foot, one boot on, one boot off. And she was moving around okay, but clearly she hurt herself. So now it looks like both of them are the walking wounded, and I don't know how long they may be out for. And they're the ones who won the match. They're the ones who I think are being primed or were going to be primed for a tag team title match. What do you do now? How long is it going to be if Shayna is hurt before she can get back in the ring? Or is it not that serious? Maybe we'll find out on Friday. Maybe she'll be wrestling on Friday. I don't know. They've given us no updates on her condition there. But I can give them a pass at least because if they need to go in a different direction until they're healed and ready to go, then I get that, right? If people get hurt, what are you going to do? You have to call an audible and go in a different direction. But if they were healthy and ready to go, it's like, well, why would you give Liv and Raquel the tag team title match next week when they were in the showcase and they lost? Well, if Ronda and Shayna are hurt, that would be why. So, as if things could not get any worse, they showed The Miz. Look, when we get to 10:15, 10:20 on a 3-hour show that is dragging, I do not want to see The Miz. I don't. But there he was, in the back, on his way to the ring for the next segment. Miz comes out to the ring, and he is complaining about all of the annoying things that happened to him at WrestleMania. And that Snoop Dogg made him endure at WrestleMania. Except when he beat Shane McMahon so badly that he couldn't finish the match. The crowd laughed at that. So did I. That was fucking great. I'm sorry. Hey, heal up soon, Shane, but not too soon. That was a good line. For those who don't know, Shane tore his quad at WrestleMania. Shane did a leapfrog. He did one move, and he tore his quad. Shane McMahon had no business being back in the ring, period. And now he'll have the next 6 to 9 months to, I guess, lay around and lick his wounds and plot his return. And now that Vince McMahon is firmly entrenched in this new and improved WWE, it's only a matter of time before we hear, "Here comes the money," and Shane McMahon will be back throwing those awful punches yet again. We might see him back before the year is even over. So I'm sure we'll see him back at some point. But Miz also said that Snoop Dogg did the worst people's elbow of all time. Now, this was a weird thing for him to gloat about because that was the move that Snoop Dogg used to beat The Miz at WrestleMania. So that is what you call a self-own. I don't know if it was designed that way. I think he was just making fun of the people's elbow, but it's like, hey, dude, like, you fucking lost to that move. If it was so bad, I don't think that that's quite the insult you think it is. Miz said that he was sick of surprises. Well, then this was the show for him because you didn't really have too many of them on this show. But this was one of the few that we had because this was the return of Matt Riddle, who came out on his scooter. Same Matt Riddle we saw the last time we saw him. Big cheesy smile, rolling down to the ring, jumps over the top rope. He had giraffes jumping out of his feet on screen as he jumped into the ring. I would rather see Pedro Pascal feeding a giraffe than see them exploding out of Matt Riddle's feet. So Corey Graves, here was the kicker to all this. Corey Graves sees Matt Riddle coming to the ring, and he says that we haven't seen Riddle in months, which is true. And if he would have just stopped right there, that would have been accurate and that would have been fine. But he couldn't help himself, or he was told something in his ear, and he kept going, and he said, "We haven't seen him in nearly a year." It's literally been 4 months since we've seen Matt Riddle. The last time we saw him, the injury angle with Solo Sikoa, that was in the beginning of December. It's been 4 months. Apparently, that's nearly a year. Why do they do this? Why must they do this? Why must they exaggerate? I don't, like, it's just something like this that is just demonstrably false. Why do they do this? Or did Corey Graves forget and legitimately think that we haven't seen Matt Riddle in almost a year? It's been 4 months. Honestly, he hasn't been gone long enough for me to really miss him all that much. But apparently now 4 months is nearly a year. So Riddle got on the mic and he said, "Surprise, did you miss me?" Miz then attacked him from behind. Riddle recovered. He hit Miz with a ripcord knee and followed up with a bro Derek. And then they played his music because this was not a match, but they're going to have a match on TV next week. Fear not. You get to see the Miz and Matt Riddle on television next Monday night. Can't wait. Somehow, but by the grace of God, I survived. And I made it to the main event. Finally, the main event of this long show, which was Cody Rhodes and Cowboy Brock against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. It was 10:41 p.m. Reigns and Solo Sikoa are making their way to the ring. They go to a commercial break, come back from commercial. Cody Rhodes has his entrance. Brock Lesnar has his entrance. Now it is 10:50. Almost 10 minutes have gone by, and we are now only first getting to the ring introductions, which I thought was kind of strange because usually when they do that, they wait for the wrestlers to get in the ring and then do the introductions. It's for a championship match. Now, I know they were billing this as, not only were they billing this as a big main event, all night long, they were told to promote this as the biggest tag team match in Monday Night Raw history. Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, according to WWE, was the biggest, or was going to be, the biggest tag team match in Monday Night Raw history. I don't know if they would count the handicap match from 2002 with the NWO against Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, which just, I think based on star power alone, wouldn't it have to be that match? But no, this was not the biggest tag team match in Monday Night Raw history. Just like Matt Riddle has not been gone for almost a year. Just like they did not have a sellout of 80,000 on night one at WrestleMania and then have 81,000 the very next night. It's ridiculous. I feel like they you know what they need on these shows? They need, remember many years ago, I don't know if they still do it, on VH1, they had pop-up video. That was a thing for a while, like pop-up video. They need something like that on their television shows to just correct the bullshit. So when somebody says something that is so unbelievably wrong, we get like a little pop-up bubble that actually gives you the correct information. Like there's this guy on ESPN called Stat Boy. They need like a Stat Boy in the truck who can just throw the actual accurate facts up on screen. So anyway, we go into the match introductions for a match that ended up not happening. Bloodline is introduced first. Then they introduce Brock Lesnar. And then it's time to introduce Cody. And I'm watching Brock the entire time. I'm keeping my eye on this guy because I don't trust this person. And Cody has his back turned and Brock is kind of bouncing up and down, in the corner. And he's getting closer to Cody. Like he's moving a little bit closer to Cody. And Cody still has his back turned. And sure enough, Brock grabs him, picks him up on his shoulders, and delivers an F5. And, people were shocked. You could tell people were surprised. The announcers acted stunned. I don't know. Just like to the ear, it didn't sound like it got like some kind of a big, shocking reaction. Maybe more people than I thought were expecting it. But some people, they found people in the crowd who were surprised. So Roman Reigns looked surprised. This was not a case of him aligning with Paul Heyman in the Bloodline. Roman got out of the ring. Solo got out of the ring. They gave Brock the ring, right? They left. Easy night's work for Roman Reigns. He didn't even have to break a sweat. So he gave an F5 to Cody one more time. Crowd now is booing. Lesnar hit a high-angle German suplex, took Cody out of the ring, picked him up, drove him back first into the barricade. Then he suplexed him over the barricade by the timekeeper's area onto the floor. Cody had a little bit of blood because he's got that bleach blonde hair. So he had a spot that was like a little bit of blood on the back of his head. So there was some kind of cut. I don't know how serious it was, but he was bleeding from the head. Brock smashed him in the back with a chair. Then Lesnar hit Rhodes in the face with the steel steps. Brock was grabbing anything he could get his hands on here. I mean, Brock's hands are a lethal weapon. He doesn't really need a weapon, but when he grabs one, you really should run the other way. So he hits Cody with the ring steps. Then he takes the ring steps and slides them into the ring. And he brings Cody back inside. And he delivers another F5 to Cody. But actually, before he even did that, I'm missing the other F5. He gave him an F5 through the announce desk. Then he put the steps in the ring. And then he rolled Cody into the ring. And then he gave him another F5 onto the flat part of the ring steps. Brock then stood up on top of the steps. He's standing now over Cody's dead body, posing over his prey. Officials ran out. Adam Pearce. I think I saw Shane Helms out there. They were too afraid to do anything to Brock. They didn't want to piss him off. They checked on Cody, though, as Lesnar finally began to go leave. But Brock chased them all off, grabbed a steel chair, went back in the ring, and started whacking Cody in the back repeatedly with the chair. Lesnar then took the point of the chair, and he jammed it down into Cody's throat, leaned down and was yelling something at him. We don't know what he was yelling at him because they muted the sound. So whatever it was, maybe he was just cussing him out, but whatever he was saying, they muted the sound. They didn't really give us a hint. I like to think that maybe he was, telling him that this is for Shaq. After what Cody did to poor Shaq in AEW that time. I don't know. Fill in the blank. What do you think Brock was saying to him? Because we couldn't hear it. And if he was saying something that story-wise, was some sort of explanation for why he did what he did or any sort of hint, we didn't hear it because USA bleeped it out. Then Lesnar left. They got in the ring finally to help check on Cody, make sure he was still breathing. They brought out a stretcher. Brock suddenly reappeared again on stage, but this time he just came out to flip Cody the double bird, and that is how they went off the air. So at least they closed with a major angle here on this show. Now, you may not have liked the angle that they did, but at least they closed with a major storyline twist here on the show. Brock has been babyface now, smiling, happy cowboy Brock for a while, and it's been a lot of fun. Brock has looked like he's enjoyed himself, and it's been a real treat to see a different side of Brock Lesnar that for all these years we just never got to see. Well, now it's back to business for Brock Lesnar. Now it's back to the beast. Now it's back to the killing machine. Unless he comes out next week on TV smiling again. But I'm all for that. I'm all for Brock getting more serious and kind of going back a little bit to that version of Brock Lesnar if that's what we're going to get. It was also a big angle because, again, we don't see Brock very often anyway on TV, let alone at the end of the show. But he also hasn't had much to do. You know, the program with Omos was a total throwaway program. The matches, the recent matches that he had with Lashley, the two of them were just not very good. And that last match they had at Elimination Chamber, apparently there was a change in the original creative for that match, which played a role in why that match just was no good. So it's been a while since Brock really had something big to do. And this feels like now it's Brock back in that sort of prime position we haven't seen him in a while. I mean, he, opened the show against fucking Omos 24 hours ago. And then he closed out Raw here against Cody Rhodes, right, in this big angle. So that's a big change from what he's been doing. But it gives Cody now this huge hill that he has to climb before he gets to Roman Reigns now. He gets to work at least one match with Brock Lesnar, who he's never worked with before. So it's a fresh opponent for Brock, somebody he has not been in the ring with before. Guaranteed to be a better match than the one he had with Omos, which could have been a disaster. And I didn't shit on it. I said the match was fine for what it needed to be. In fact, I thought Brock and Omos was the better of the two opening matches at WrestleMania this weekend. I thought that match was better than Cena and Theory on night one. But Cody and Brock will obviously be a much better match, and they have time to kill, because if they're going to wait until SummerSlam, let's say, in August, beginning of August is SummerSlam. If they want to wait until SummerSlam and do Cody and Roman one more time, Cody needs something to do in the meantime. Who does Cody work with? Well, why not work with Brock? And Brock can put him over in the end. Brock can beat the snot out of him like he did tonight. He can beat the crap out of this guy and try to get sympathy on Cody. That's what they did tonight. They were trying to get sympathy on Cody Rhodes. What a fucked up weekend he had, right? He goes into the main event of WrestleMania. He gets screwed out of the championship. And then he goes into Raw the next night, seemingly with Brock Lesnar as his tag team partner, and he gets laid out. He gets the crap beaten out of him, and he's left laying the very next night by Brock. This was not a very good weekend for Cody Rhodes. So they're trying to put sympathy on him. They're trying to keep that crowd behind him and hope that doing the finish they did on night two didn't just completely deflate people so much that they just look at Cody now in a different light, and they're just like, I'm not as into this guy as I was before. That was one of my concerns coming out of WrestleMania, just doing the finish the way that they did it, as lame as it came off, doing it the way that they did it. But it was encouraging, though, that the crowd was still with Cody tonight. You never know how these fickle crowds are going to react. At least for tonight, the crowd was still behind Cody. We'll see now if they continue to be when they move into these other cities. How often is Brock going to be around on television? He ain't going to be around every week. So what do they do with Cody on those weeks that Brock is not around? Is he still feuding with the Bloodline? Is he, working through the Usos? Is he going to wrestle solo again? They've got several months before SummerSlam. SummerSlam is in August. What are you going to do for the rest of April? And then May, and June, and July. At least for the time being, Brock is the answer. Brock is the one that Triple H has chosen to try to elevate Cody even more than he was elevated before. We'll see if it works. Cody was elevated enough as far as his position in the company, but we'll see how he comes out of this program here. As far as Brock's rationale, why are they going to, reveal why he did what he did? I think just maybe it could be a situation where he feels that Cody felt he was entitled to something that he wasn't entitled to. Who do you think you are? Right? You left, you came back. You think you're God's gift. You're going to go in there. You're going to be the champion. You're going to do it for your daddy. I mean, it could just be a simple story like that. He thinks that Cody is entitled to something that he does not deserve. The story could be as simple as that. But that was the only thing really worth a shit on this entire show. This was one of the worst, most uninspiring, boring post-WrestleMania episodes of Raw that WWE has ever produced. And yes, it did have a Vince McMahon-esque feel to it. But whether it did or didn't, that should not excuse Triple H, because he is still the head of creative. In fact, he was on the show tonight. Vince McMahon was not on the show. Triple H came out to start the show. He was singing their praises. He was patting himself on the back and telling us how great a weekend they just had and nothing is going to change. After tonight, I sure hope something changes. I hope we get a much better show next week than the one they gave us tonight. That Twitter poll was looking dangerously awful when I looked at it earlier. Let's see where it is now. Here is what you guys on Twitter thought of tonight's post-WrestleMania edition of Monday Night Raw. With over 3,000 votes in, 8% thumbs up, 11% thumbs in the middle, 80% thumbs down. This is like the inverse of the WrestleMania poll on Saturday. I think the WrestleMania poll on Saturday, you guys gave it 92% thumbs up. And then we get to Monday, 48 hours later, and it's 80% thumbs down. All it took was 48 hours to kill my good vibe from WrestleMania on Saturday. Unbelievable. That is the worst Raw score. It has to be at least a year. Maybe more, maybe longer. Terrible. A well-deserved rating in a fucking terrible show. The show was a bore. You know what's not a bore, though? Hanging out with you guys here on the streams. And I hope that you are more entertained than you were watching the television show. That's what I hope. I hope you guys are more entertained now than you were during Raw. Let's jump into your super chats here. I want to hear from you. If you would like to support, if you have comments about tonight's show, I'm sure you do. Get those super chats on in. And we'll hang out here for a little bit. Thank you guys all for the support this weekend. It's been a lot of fun. Very tiring, but a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. The Fluff Salisbury. Rest in peace, Bushwhacker Butch. Loved him and Luke way more as the sheep herders, but they were extremely entertaining and funny in the WWF. I can remember being at the very first Fan Fest in '94, WrestleMania 10 weekend. My brother's younger than me, and the Bushwhackers were there. They were licking people. Like, kids would come over with their parents, and they would just lick them. They would lick their heads. And as soon as my brother spotted them, he knew, oh, these guys lick people. Started bawling his eyes out. I still make fun of him. As soon as he saw the Bushwhackers, he immediately started crying because he didn't want to get licked. You try to lick somebody today, you're going to jail, buddy. You could get away with that shit back then. You can't do that no more. Colin with the $10. Due to some decisions that were made, it seems like Vince booked night 2 of WrestleMania. Do you feel that Cody got Booker T last night? No. Cody did not get Lugered. Cody did not get Booker T. He definitely did not get Booker T. Booker T took one finish that people had kicked out of before. He took one pedigree, and then it took Triple H about 6 weeks to crawl over and make the cover, and he pinned Booker T. That is a far cry from what happened to Cody at WrestleMania, so let's not compare the two. Hey, Hater656 just subscribed to the channel. Welcome. Winter's Paw has a couple of super chats here. SmackDown is irrelevant. Rhea just won the title. She's not losing it anytime soon. Gunther is going to break the Intercontinental record, and Roman is not going to lose until at least SummerSlam. That is a long time for nothing to happen. And he says WWE's ratings are going to plummet in the upcoming months. I'm going to say that doesn't happen. I don't think their ratings are not going to plummet. The ratings sometimes there's peaks and valleys, but there's no indication that their ratings are going to go anywhere but stay where they are, go up a little bit maybe. You know, the ratings have been fairly steady, especially SmackDown's ratings on Fox have been pretty good, so I don't see that changing. Shin Superkick Akuma. Just an OG member continuing to show love. Thank you, Shin. Jazz Jackrabbit, thank you for spending the weekend with us. I'm sure with little sleep. Very little. Listening for 12 years. Love all your content. All hail the mighty Solomonster. Thank you, Jazz. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, you know what Raw needs? Brie mode. I'm sorry, I'll show myself out. Thank goodness I did not watch. Jazz again says this just came in from the new ownership. Endeavor is wishing the best of luck to WWE talents on their futures with Endeavor. Very nice. Dr. Dakota, adrenaline in my soul. Vince ran Raw. He is such a troll. Winston Smith, Cody and Brandy against Brock and Sable. Book it. Jay Lopez, thank you for the super chat. Azen, forget Raw after Mania standards. This may just be one of the worst episodes I've seen of Raw, period. I've seen far worse. I've seen far worse, and believe me, you have too. Manic Game Magician with the $5 super chat. Angry Brock is back. Yes, yes, yes. Kill Cody. Dick the Cock Johnson, just like that, Cody is gone from the top babyface in the company with potential to be the guy to just another geek. Drew Mackincock, I wish I did not go to this show. It was a dud. Yeah, this is definitely a show that I would have been pretty pissed off had I spent a lot of money on these tickets. Daniel Manuel, at this point, the only person left that I think could beat Roman is Jay White at next year's WrestleMania. Could this work? And if not, then who? No. Jay White is not beating Roman Reigns. It's not going to be Jay White. It looks like they're going to stick with Cody, and so Cody should be that guy. They didn't do it at WrestleMania. That would have been a great moment to do it. Still could have continued the Bloodline story in a different way, as far as the whole Bloodline falling apart around Roman, but they decided they wanted to drag it out longer and go in a different direction. I still think Cody is going to be that guy. I know one person in the chat who will disagree and have a different name for me, but it ain't going to be that person either. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, it shows like Raw tonight is one of the few reasons why I take a break from watching wrestling every now and then. I love wrestling, but sometimes it's one of many reasons why I struggle mentally. Well, look, at the end of the day, it's a television show, so you should not take it personally or that seriously that it affects your mental health. Although Raw does make me sometimes want to pull my hair out from the roots, I don't allow any wrestling show to put me in a bad headspace to where I'm letting it affect me mentally. Lakers pads, the WWE is going full Inokiism, I see. Brumakian Productions, Vince McMahon is like Stalin. He just comes back. That's kind of stiff. Devin from NJ, is the sound off being primed for a sale? I have no comment. But I do hear that there are several interested parties. Jay Lopez, thank you. Luther Angel, can't stay for the stream, just dipping in to say I am looking forward to wrestling on Wednesday. Am I right? Don't forget, Tony Khan got a big announcement coming up. on Wednesday, got another big announcement. We got Max P123ABC. I'm fed up with screwy finishes. Heels can win clean, and Cody and Cena should have demanded rematches. John Cena, I guarantee you John Cena was not even in LA. He definitely was not at the Crypto.com arena tonight. John Cena was in, and John Cena is out. So John Cena does not give a shit. But as far as Cody, he's very upset with the fact that Cody did not win. Well, look, Cody did demand a rematch. That's the first thing Cody did on the show tonight. He demanded a rematch, as he should have. By the way, where was Adam Pearce? Did Adam Pearce not see Solo Sikoa get ejected by the referee and then illegally come back to the ring and hit the Samoan spike? Where's he? Where's he? That bald prick is walking around backstage every single week. He's yelling at people. He's yelling at Damian Priest tonight. He's making decisions. This is the WrestleMania main event. This is the biggest match on the biggest show of the year. Why would Adam Pearce not come out? Why would Adam Pearce not have some sort of announcement to make on television the next night? Cody shouldn't have even had to come out and ask for a rematch. Isn't that the whole purpose of having somebody like Adam Pearce in the position that he's in? Well, I'll tell you what, Commissioner Solomonster in House of Glory, he would have made a judgment call on it. He wouldn't have let that shit stand. That I know. Max says maybe Brock wanted champion Cody so he could challenge. Maybe. I could see that. That's true, because he can't wrestle Roman for the title, so he's pissed that Cody didn't win. I mean, I guess that's a possibility. I don't think that's going to be the story, but it's possible. Arabian Night 2000. Worst Raw since 2019 when you had your rant. Oh boy, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. That was the worst Raw I had ever seen. That was in 2018. I think that was November, right? November of 2018. I think that Raw review actually got, I put that on YouTube. I think it had over 100,000 views. AJ Lupo. Solomonster, I am miffed. I saw night 2, Finn died. Now Cody might be dead too. So if that does it, I am challenging Mason for the Crown Jewel title in House of Glory. Book it. Tokes Kazim. Vince basically served a pizza with mushrooms smeared with dog shit with tonight's show. Jobbed Out Wrestling. Feels like Saturday was the last Hunter run show. Doesn't matter who writes the checks. Tonight was a very McMahon Monday episode of Raw. It certainly felt that way. Omando. How would you rank these? Who had the better trilogy of matches? Undertaker against Triple H, Rock against Stone Cold, Brock against Roman. Rock against Stone Cold, Undertaker, Triple H, and then Brock and Roman would be dead last. Channel 1107 asked Bruce why Roman went over. He said they need him to be champion on the upcoming European tour. You know, very few people are going to get that reference. You know that. Very few people are going to understand that reference, but I got that reference. I got that reference. Channel, thank you. Hogan winning the title at the end of WrestleMania 9. So he can be the champion on a European tour that he wasn't even on. Good old Bruce. Brian Cyrus. Feels like Vince took more and more control back as the weekend went on. Night 1 felt like the last night Triple H had input. Tonight felt like 100% Vince. Dougie Dizzle. Jay White, if you're reading this, run. Oh boy. Is it too late? Has Jay White signed the contract already? If not, there's still time. There's still time. DG with the $5. Horrible main event. Horrible Raw. Vince looking like he wants pictures of Spider-Man. Corporate buyout. WWE. To quote the Hawk, and shove it. Brian Becerra. Raw was boring. Luckily, I had a Coors Light and Jack Daniels to help get me through. Bobbert Reviews with the $30. Hey, Bobbert, thank you. Should have known Brock would have turned heel when he didn't wear his cowboy hat. Justin Hesse. Vince looking like Chuck Cedar trying to steal Mr. Deeds' fortune. 0 Point says, worst Raw is trending on Twitter. You know, WWE, they love their Twitter trends. Maybe they'll mention that on TV on Friday. They could say that we trended #1 worldwide on Monday night for worst Raw. You think they'll mention that? I'll bet they don't. Rodimus Prime came home to what was left of the show, got word about Cody and Brock teaming up. But anybody in their right mind could see the turn coming. King Bling Blah, Cena loses to Rock at WrestleMania 28. Raw after Brock comes out, handshake F5. Cody loses to Roman at WrestleMania 39. Raw after Brock comes out, handshake F5. I don't think he shook his hand though, right? Didn't he just, I think he just picked him up and gave him the F5. But yeah, there's some similarities there. Hotel Whiskey with the $6. Vince like a Scooby-Doo villain. I had issues professionally and personally, and I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He got away with it, too. He got away with all of it. Super Teague Boxy. Unlike UFC, ratings are important for WWE business model, especially in a negotiating year. If Vince is back and ratings go down the drain, Ari and the new board can act, and at least there can be some accountability. Yeah, but you're forgetting one very important thing. Vince McMahon and Ari Emanuel have been friends for over 20 years. And that's one of the biggest reasons why this deal even happened in the first place. And they even said as much in the interview on CNBC today. They're like this. So if you're unhappy with WWE creative, if the ratings go down a little bit, the one thing about Vince, there has always been a scapegoat. It's always someone else's fault. Always. I don't see that being any different under Endeavor because, again, Ariel finds somebody else. It's not Vince's fault. Vince is the visionary. It must be, Paul Levesque, or it must be the writing team, or it must be Nick Khan, or it must be somebody else. You think Vince is going to be held accountable if things go south, that they're going to oust him? Give me a break, please. Please. His friend is running Endeavor. You think he's going to get rid of Vince? Maroa with that $50 super chat drop. Maroa, again, thank you very much. I gave this Mania and Raw a chance after not watching WWE since 2020. First WrestleMania night was like reuniting with an old ex. Second WrestleMania night was being reminded why you broke up, and tonight's Raw is realizing that maybe you're better off being friends. Maroa, that is a very wise super chat. I like that. I like that analogy. I think that is a very apt analogy. Super Teak says, if still... I'm trying to decipher this here. If it is not possible for the new board to oust Vince for bad ratings or new controversy, then maybe he is the smartest businessman of our times. He just signed an employee contract with WWE this past week. He just signed hey, look, there it is, everybody. Bosom buddies. Look at that. Look at Brock. Look how happy Brock is. That was Brock and Cody in happier times. You knew as soon as that happened, it had to be a new super chat. I mean, I jumped on that shit right away. But yeah, no, Super Teak, he signed a new employee contract this week. So it's not just that he's the executive chairman. He's a formal employee of the company. I'm not sure exactly how that changes things, if they can just get rid of him. I'm sure there would be some sort of financial payoff of some kind. But again, I don't think he's in any kind of jeopardy of that happening. Flight says, is Gable Steveson the one to take down Roman Reigns? No. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. Brock Lesnar committed a crime in the ring tonight. He did. And not a jury in the world is going to convict him because he's a scary man. He also says Wrestlemania is over and college basketball is over. My UConn Huskies won tonight. New WWE storylines are coming. The Carlosa says rest in peace. Bushwhacker Butch. Azen says surprised there was nothing about Braun Breaker. His loss at Stand and Deliver and the post-match really seemed like he was on his way out of NXT. I think he still is. It's just that they opted not to debut him tonight. So he'll be on NXT tomorrow night. Who's to say he doesn't give a farewell speech? Right? I would sit tight on that because I still feel like Braun is on his way up. Marcus Metcalf, any news on Bayley? A lot of rumors around her. A lot of rumors from that one tweet where she basically said, goodbye. But I have not heard anything beyond that. I think it's just another case of another wrestler being very... What's the word? Another wrestler being very kind of dramatic on Twitter. Cryptic, that's the word I'm looking for. Very cryptic. She would not be the first. There's been an epidemic of wrestlers being cryptic on social media. If for no other reason other than they just want to stir the pot and get people talking. I'm assuming that's what that is. Justin Hesse, adrenaline in my soul, rubber chicken on the flow. You know, I didn't see the rubber chicken when it happened last night. I was wrapping up my notes. I saw it after the fact. Like, it landed right there too. Like, poor Cody. Arabian Night, why can't Rollins be the one to beat Roman? There must be a reason as to why Reigns hasn't beaten him yet. He is super over more than any time in his career. Zachary Sigmund, I have a feeling that they're going to do twice in a lifetime between Reigns and Cody. Well, really, what gave you that impression? Was it? Were you watching the show tonight? Because it seemed pretty clear that's what they're going to do. Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. Todd Warner. Is it safe to say that Vince and Linda got a quiet divorce? I just think that whole relationship has been just fucking weird now for like the last 15 years. I don't know if they're officially divorced. I think they're just quietly separated, living apart. I mean, maybe they're divorced. I don't really give a shit enough to find out. It's none of my business, but for all intents and purposes, yeah, they've been divorced. Even unofficially, they've been divorced now probably for at least 15 years. Jay Lopez, Taskmaster needs to save us. Dr. War God. Instead of giving in to disgust with WWE right now, I choose to watch classic Bushwhacker stuff in honor of Butch. Also, what are the chances WWE would try to break Bruno's championship record? You know, here's the thing about that people are forgetting. Bruno was WWE champion. Bruno was not Universal champion. The really long run for Roman is with the Universal title. And the Universal title has been around for like, what, 6 or 7 years? So he's not breaking Bruno's record because that's a completely different championship. Some people are forgetting that. The answer is no. The answer is no. Justin Hesse. I'm so mad I'm going to take a red chair to my purple table. You do that. Naughty Delicious says Tony Khan's big announcement will be a cannabis sponsorship deal. Well, that's good because I could probably use some of that for Raw next week. That Indian dude says, as a UFC fan, welcome to the family. Can't wait for wrestlers to get paid $10,000 to win and $10,000 to show. And John Jones getting hit over with a steel chair by Brock. Cameron Spencer, I'm a huge Omos fan. Think about Khali for one last match against Omos. The visual of those two opposite from each other would be great. Are you down for that? No. No, I am not. Turtlehead, I expected the profits to turn tonight, not Brock. That Indian dude, also have not watched WWE in years, but I did not realize that Vince looked like a children's movie villain. What is up with the stash? You know, I said the same thing. It's just weird. Like I've seen people, celebrities with like the very thin pencil mustache, but like it's his looks like one of those like blocks from Tetris where it goes like across and then down. It's just weird. Apparently he's dyeing his eyebrows and it's like he's trying to pickle himself. I don't know what he's doing. Sam Dankman-Weed, Vince looking like John Waters. Paul Heyman, the $5 super chat. I guess it's safe to say, for us to say, to wish WWE the best in their future endeavors. Well, that was an easy one. Usually, you have to put some more effort into these things. That one was, I mean, it's like a layup right there. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, Vince must have watched Squid Game and thought that the old man could fool us. Damn it, so can I. I am still mad and shocked that old man was behind it all. Thanks for the spoiler. I saw it, but maybe other people had not. Juan Ocampo. My friend Jesus showed me a detractor video of yours. Tell him who you are and prove him wrong. I don't give a shit about people like that, man. Fuck those people. People don't even know their name. Why even give them oxygen? Juan, thank you. Big Bosh. Vince always wanted to be Walt Disney. Hoffenheim with the $5 super chat. Just leaving it here. Thank you, Solo. Hoffenheim, thank you. Devin from NJ2000, has Solomonster ever been cryptic on social media? I can be. You want me to start being cryptic? I could be cryptic. I don't think I've been cryptic. Muhammad. I cannot stand this version of Seth Rollins. He is very annoying. Naughty Delicious, Raw after Mania tonight is like eating pasta without sauce. Rizzo with the $5. I may continue the wrestlers being cryptic by tweeting you and Hog just an eyeball emoji. Also, Raw after Mania, in my opinion, has not been good since 2017. Marcus Metcalf. Triple H against The Rock against Stone Cold should have happened. Yeah, it should have. Solo threatening to end his podcast on Twitter. Yes, I will be very cryptic about that. Royal World. After Shane's amazing performance last night, I think he's the only one who should take the belt off of Roman. WrestleMania 40 main event match. Sam Dankman-Weed, did Vince call Dr. Zizmore and Cy Sperling for the facelift and the hair dye? Is Dr. Zizmore still doing, is he still working? When I used to watch Superstars, when I was like a teenager, I think, they used to have the Dr. Zizmore ads here in New York on Fox 5. Like, thank you, Dr. Zizmore. Dr. Jonathan Zizmore. We've got Silver Dollar 1989. Was at the show today. It felt like eating mayo. Ugh. It's pretty fucking gross. Leon Stevens, tonight feels like such a missed opportunity. They've got more eyes on the product today after the merger, and they put on a planned post-Mania show. Yeah, you would think you want to put your best foot forward, and they did just the opposite. Arabian Night 2000. Montez Ford could be the next face of WWE. He has everything in a top guy: charisma, swagger, mic skills, and the look of a star. What do you believe? Money in the Bank winner 2023. Yeah, Montez has all the tools, and I think that this is going to be a breakout year for him on, as far as a single. Whether there's an actual turn or they just start to kind of branch him off a little bit more into the singles ranks. I don't see Money in the Bank, though. I think he'll be in Money in the Bank. I think he'll have a star performance in Money in the Bank. I don't see him winning Money in the Bank. think Money in the Bank is either going to somebody like Cody, who would then, well in advance cash in and say that I'm going to cash in on you at SummerSlam. Or if it were me, it would go to somebody like an LA Knight. They can use that to try to really kind of boost him up, to that next level. But it's kind of like Elimination Chamber, They put Montez in the Elimination Chamber and he fucking killed it. He had a great performance, a great showing. So I think it's the first of many that we'll see out of him this year. That's why I think a program with him and Austin Theory for the U.S. title, if done right, could be very enjoyable. Powerful one, Cody and Brock look like evolved Pokemon together. And Keyshawn Johnson, are you going to give us the scoop on the WWE sale on Sunday? Because I trust you more than the dirt sheets. Love you, brother. Yeah, I'll be talking about it on Sunday, but I may be talking about it tomorrow too. So I'll let you guys know on Twitter once I figure out what I'm doing. It'll either be a video or maybe a live stream. Maybe in the afternoon around 2 or 3. That's what I'm thinking. No guarantees, but I wanted to go live today and just the day got away from me. If it wasn't for Raw, I would have gone live talking about that tonight, but it just feels like there's never enough time in the day. And Sam Dankman-Weed, Zizmore retired in 2016 and is apparently studying the Talmud. That is still more fun than tonight's Raw. It's kind of random. He retired and is studying the Talmud. Okay. I didn't know that. But more power to him. Let me check. I want to just check something here on one of the wrestling sites. Well, here we go. So, how did we open the stream tonight? We opened the stream tonight, right, talking about how this is a big day for Vince McMahon and how Vince McMahon was on television talking about how, creative and this and that. No, I'm only going to be, kind of in a top line kind of way. And I'm not going to be in the weeds anymore, right? My time in the weeds is over. Well, here's an update from Mike Johnson on pwinsider.com. I'm just reading this right now for the first time. The headline is, Vince McMahon firmly back in charge at last night's Raw. Vince McMahon was personally and heavily involved with last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. PW Insider has confirmed with multiple sources. We are told that about 15 to 20 minutes before Raw went live on the air, a number of late rewrites for the episode were ordered, described as not feeling like the type of changes that talent and staff had come to expect under Paul Levesque. Changes for the episode continued as the show was well into being on the air, and we are told that they came directly from McMahon, who had his own office at Raw just as he did before his quote-unquote retirement in the summer of 2002. While McMahon stated that he would not be in the weeds of creative on CNBC yesterday, we were told by multiple sources who were at Raw that there was no doubt that Vince was firmly back in charge following the Endeavor acquisition of the company. And this is just, how fucking predictable is this, right? This is really all it was ever about. Self-preservation. Watching him go on television today and talk about how, I've made mistakes personally and professionally, and I've owned up to all of my mistakes. You're so full of shit. And honestly, anybody who watched this television show tonight could have figured it out within the first hour of the show what the fuck was going on here. PW Insider is told the night started with Paul Levesque on headsets running Raw, but as the taping went on, it was McMahon who was more and more involved as the point person running the show. While McMahon was on headset producing a few times over WrestleMania weekend, he was at the gorilla position for most of last night's Raw taping, directly overseeing the proceedings. Among some talents we spoke with, there was a huge negative shift in morale as they realized that things were going to go back to exactly the way they were before Paul Levesque was placed in control as chief content officer. One source said that the place felt nuked, but others didn't go that far. The feeling was that going forward, the likelihood was that McMahon would be overseeing everything again, leaving the creative once again to his whims and sensibilities, although whether that actually plays out remains to be seen. Oh, we know exactly how this is going to play out. You can play coy all you want to. We know exactly how this is going to play out. A big part of that feeling of resignation was that Levesque is genuinely liked and trusted by the talent, especially since so many came through the NXT system. And for some of them, that feeling of security, many had felt the run from SummerSlam to WrestleMania was no longer a given and would be a far departure from how it was done before. Other talents more or less shrugged it off, feeling they always suspected that all roads would lead to McMahon being back in the central creative role eventually. But they wanted to see if this would be a regular thing or whether it just happened last night because McMahon was at TV, due to being in Los Angeles for WrestleMania and the acquisition announcement. One person joked that WWE was always McMahon's world, and now it is back in the palm of his hand after he willingly gave it up last summer. Yeah, willingly my ass. Willingly my ass. The word when he first came back a few months ago was that he was upset because he felt like he was given bad advice. That's the only reason he stepped down in the first place, was because he had people in his ear telling him this could really be bad for the company. So you need to step down. It's time to step down. It's time to go away and back away from this. You think Vince McMahon made the choice? He woke up. Remember that fucking tweet that he posted? Oh, 77 years old. Time for me to retire. Yeah, give me a fucking break. He never wanted to leave in the first place. The entire time that he was gone, I wonder what Vince McMahon is doing. What does he do to kill time? Does he have hobbies? Does he like to do things? Yeah, he likes to plot his revenge and plot his comeback. That's how he spent his time. All this bullshit about how, he's only there. He's giving advice to Triple H. He's not back in creative. Nick Khan in January. Oh, Vince is only back for strategic alternatives. He's only looking for, strategic alternatives for a sale. He's not involved in creative. And then a few weeks ago, well, he's not that involved. And I just joked on Twitter earlier this week. I said, give it 2 months. Let's wait another 2 months until May. Let's see what his answer is then. He's already back in the fucking chair. He couldn't even help himself. He's already back in the fucking chair. And it just so happens that we end up with one of the worst episodes of Monday Night Raw in a very long time. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, though, right? It's just a coincidence that we end up with one of the worst post-WrestleMania Raw shows that we have ever seen. On the very night that Vince McMahon is back in the fold running the show. And they're doing rewrites as the show is live on the air. How many times since Triple H took over have we read stories about Raw rewrites right before the show or when the show is live on the air? I could tell you right now, 0. None. All of a sudden, we're reading about rewrites during the show. Welcome back. Welcome back to WWE. Vince got exactly what he wanted. This is only the beginning. Unbelievable. Let's get back to your super chats here. Now I'm even more aggravated. It almost feels like he's just kind of like throwing it in people's faces. I got nothing to worry about now, right? We're locked into this new deal. I got my boy, Ari, right, at the top of the food chain here. It's pretty much, it's not official yet, but it's like all but a done deal. And he's got it made. He paid the $17 million back for all the fucking bullshit, all the hush money payments to make it all go away, right? Here's your money. Now go away. Leave me alone. And he's right back in the catbird seat, which is where he always wanted to be. Guy's out there looking like he should put a fucking beret on his head and he should be selling bread on the street. And now he's back in the chair on. Look, John Moxley is the one years ago who said, in his book, I think he said, that Vince is going to die in that chair. Vince is going to die in that chair. He's never going to give it up. People like to crap on Moxley. Moxley knew exactly what he was talking about. Hey, Drehun, thank you for the $5. Retro Mintman, I apologize if you touched on this already, but was wondering if you feel Jay White might sign with WWE. Well, I certainly fucking hope not now. I certainly hope not. I did before. I don't feel that way anymore. Marcus says, feels like Triple H's announcement was his farewell. Sure feels that way. John Nelson, thank you for the super chat. Joey says, well, that sucked. Jerry McDevitt, the goat of lawyers. I thought Vince was finished forever after these allegations, but he is like Teflon. Rizzo says, I wonder if Triple H was giving a goodbye message tonight. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, certain wrestlers in that company and people and in the IWC who defended Vince and his creative and blasted fans for being critical, where are they at? And Liquid Sharingan, I'm now more convinced that WrestleMania Night 2 was a Vince, were his decision? I don't know what that says. Liquid Sharingan, I think your keyboard broke. Said Balor and Cody losing and Sheamus not getting his Intercontinental Championship win. Thank you, brother, though. I appreciate that. Well, can't say I'm surprised. I guess if I do go live tomorrow, we'll have some more to get into. And anyway, you guys smashed the goal. The goal tonight for Be the Booker was 500. And we more than doubled that. So that's awesome. Thank you guys for that. And with that out of the way, it's time to be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Hey, Steve, you know what we need? We need a Be the Booker with Mustache Vince. That's what we need. Got to get him here in one of these thumbnails. Well, let's kick things off here with the men's Be the Booker. I am just so thoroughly disgusted right now. Begin with Adam Cole. Just made his return to the ring in AEW last week. One of the stars of AEW All Access. Actually, the most likable person on that entire show. It'll be Adam Cole taking on the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Look at that pec. Ugh. Brutal. Adam Cole and Cody Rhodes. Could be a match if there was ever a WWE AEW Forbidden Door. Which there will never be. But that could be a match. Over on the ladies' side, begin with former Divas champion AJ Lee. You believe AJ retired in 2014, I guess it would have been, right? 2014 is when she retired. She's been out of the ring for that long. Yeah, that super chat right there, that's my expression right now. Hearing that news. AJ Lee against Brandy Rhodes. Over on the tag team wheel, as we take this for a spin. 2015, was it 2015? Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. 2015. On the tag team side, we have Seth Rollins and Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, The Shield, former Raw tag team champions. Moxley and Rollins against Crime Time. Yo, 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 yo. Crime Time and The Shield. Good shit. I'd call that an average edition of Be the Booker. Cole and Cody, though. That would be a very good match. We have Andre Israel with the $5 super chat. Hate to even have to think about this, but with Vince back, do you think that there will now be budget cuts for the wrestlers that Triple H brought back and then some? Anything's possible. It's his show to run. You know, he's running the show now. He's the executive chairman, as he has been now for a few months. And if he wants to get rid of people, then they're going to get rid of people. Arabian Night, thank God we have AEW. Variety is good. Tuxedo T Servo, thank you for the 5. And Rizzo, this took the air out of all of us here, although that Maurice pick cheered me up. I thought it might. That's why I put it up. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say about this show tonight. It was not very good, but we can only hope that it's up from here. We still have the Bloodline story. We'll see where the Cody and Brock stuff goes. Obviously, they're doing something with Bad Bunny and Ray and the Judgment Day going into Backlash. There are some good stories. Seth had no indication of where they're going with him at all. But I certainly hope that there are not any sort of drastic changes to the key stories. How must William Regal feel right now? That's a very good question. Liquid Sharingan, Tony Khan is just grinning ear to ear with this news. With the senile patient in charge of creative, AEW stands to benefit from this news. I am thoroughly upset. AEW doesn't stand to benefit creatively. You know, they just need to focus on their own creative. Where this could potentially end up being a positive for them is if there are people who would have wanted to come to WWE who, once again, now might just think twice about it and say, you know what, maybe this isn't such a good idea after all. Maybe I should re-sign here. I should go sign with AEW. I could see that being a benefit for Tony Khan. Beyond that, though, Tony Khan just needs to focus on his own creative. He's got his own creative issues in his company. WWE creative is not going to have any sort of direct effect on AEW. That's something that Tony Khan needs to just kind of focus on his. But as far as the talent pool, oh yeah, there could definitely be an impact there. And Devin from NJ, who do you prefer, CM Punk or Edge? I mean, do you mean like overall, as far as matches, promos, and everything? CM Punk. But don't tell that to the people who think I'm a CM Punk hater. That all I do is hate on CM Punk. Don't tell them. They're not going to like to hear that. But yeah, I would go with Punk over Edge. Thank you guys for all of the support tonight and really all weekend. You guys blew me away with all of your messages, and we had a lot of people on the live streams this weekend. We had a lot of people in here tonight as well. So hopefully you guys will stick around. We're going to be live again on Wednesday for Dynamite, Friday night after SmackDown. And I might be live in the afternoon tomorrow talking a little bit about the sales stuff and the whole Vince McMahon situation. We'll see. Love Lie says, how the mighty have fallen. That is all. Be well, stay safe, And I will see you back here very soon for more Sound Up. Please hit that thumbs up on your way out if you have not already done so. And see you back here soon. Take care, guys.